Last night's episode of Monday Night Raw was like a cake with a delicious, moist, and fluffy sponge, but a disgusting cream cheese filling. Let's break it down segment by segment, emoji by emoji. You're watching Allison Analysis. Let's start it off with Drew McIntyre coming down to the ring and Pat McAfee hilariously just snitching on Michael Cole for talking negatively about Drew McIntyre. McAfee is just hilarious. He's just such a great addition to Monday Night Raw. But something that was quite interesting about this segment was Damian Priest came down to the ring, seemingly offered McIntyre a title shot, but was the babyface in the segment. And this is what really confused me. McIntyre being, the heel, obviously, but Priest being the babyface. Does this mean that Balor's going to be turning on Priest and that's the way the Judgment Day is going to fall? Is Priest going to be the babyface in all of this? I really would have done it the opposite way. I would have had Balor as the face and Priest as the heel. But hey, I guess they're doing it this way, I'd presume. I mean, this was just really, really weird, but a really entertaining segment. Subtle round of applause from me to start off Monday Night Raw. We then had like an MMA video package, basically summing up the Queen of the Ring from last week, and this gets a thumbs up from me. I mean, honestly, it might have even been the MMA UFC voiceover guy they actually used for this, and the terminology, the sports-like terminology they were using, I really liked it. I thought this was really refreshing and made the Queen of the Ring tournament feel really, really legit. So yeah, a thumbs up from me. Then to kick off the in-ring action for the night, we had Io Sky versus Shayna Baszler. And I'm not overreacting when I say this. This could well have been one of Shayna Baszler's best main roster matches since she came to WWE. Because her and Io Sky just put on a clinic. The transitions were so swift. Their chemistry was just so awesome. I mean, these two were just had such natural chemistry between, each other. And I think they only went on for 13 minutes, but it just flew by and it was just thoroughly entertaining from start until finish. It really, really was. Io Sky got the victory in the end, but hey, this is what the Queen of the Ring is completely, all about. Great in-ring action between, two of the top competitors in the women's division. Io Sky advancing in this match. Well, I mean, this match can have my money. Take my money, Triple H, because this match, well, this was brilliant. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And also, a bit of a wild one, Stardom got a reference in this match. And for those of you who don't know why this is so significant, they have a partnership with AEW. And also, Rossi Ogawa, the old basically head of Stardom, he's now got seemingly a partnership with WWE as well. And he's just left Stardom in, not the best of terms at all. I mean, this reference was really, really interesting. I mean, politically, it shocked me, but hey, I guess it's showing it's a new regime. They'll reference whoever, whenever. And I'm not mad at that. They're not ignoring history. We then went backstage, and Chad Gable as a heel, well, he's just great, isn't he? He humiliated Maxine Dupree for losing at the live event this weekend in the Queen of the Ring tournament. And then Ivy Nile walked in and said, Maxine, why didn't you tell me you had a Queen of the Ring match? Well, to be fair, they did literally just say why. She filled in last minute for Zelina Vega because Zelina Vega got hurt. I mean, this isn't rocket science. They literally did say, Ivy Nile, you clearly don't pay attention to WWE social medias. But Chad Gable said, no, Maxine, you're not training with her anymore. And then went up to Ivy Nile and said, hey, Ivy, I think you've got great potential, but you need to stop hanging out with losers like the people in my academy. This was quite funny. I enjoyed this segment. It's getting a subtle round of applause from me. And I'm going to keep the rounds of applauses coming because up next, Samantha Irvine was in the ring and she invited out Lillian Garcia. And I just love the fact that WWE are now putting more of a focus on announcers and they actually, letting announcers get over like Samantha Irvine. And Lillian Garcia, she is a legend and she put over Samantha in this introduction as well. And she introduced Gunther out for his match against Kofi Kingston. Honestly, a round of applause. WWE, you're finally putting your announcers over, and I love that for them. Then another week, another Gunther banger. Kofi versus Gunther. A little bit of a weird dynamic here because Kofi injured Gunther before the bell started. Now, of course, from a storyline perspective, this makes sense. Gunther injured Woods. Kofi wants revenge. It's as simple as that. It makes sense. But it is a bit of a weird dynamic when the heel is starting the match, as the underdog, essentially. But these two managed to pull it off brilliantly. Gunther, Kofi, two great competitors. And hey, Triple H, you can take even more of my money because this was great. Now, it was at this point that I thought to myself, hang on for a second here. This Raw has been phenomenal. We're an hour in, and every segment, every match has been must watch. This could well be one of the most, one of the best Raws of the year. And then the middle completely ruined it. Let's break it down. First up, Bronson Reed squashed Tozawa with Chad Gable in Tozawa's corner, and this wasn't bad. Well, other than the kick which Bronson Reed sold, which Tozawa blatantly missed. But overall, I just don't care for it. Like, it did nothing to advance the Bronson Reed, Chad Gable IC title storyline or anything like that. It was just a squash match, and a squash match which nobody in the crowd cared about. The crowd was basically silent for Bronson Reed. It didn't advance the story. Other than the one missed kick, it wasn't bad, but I don't care about it. We then had Lyra Valkyria defeat Zoe Stark in a fun match. A thumbs up from me, a good match. Nothing special, but a great ending sequence. This was actually the highlight of the entire middle of the show. Despite the fact it felt like we literally saw Chad Gable come to the ring like 2 minutes ago, he then came back out to the ring again, but this time with his star student Otis, who was taking on Sami Zayn. And I hated this match. I really, really did. And the reason that I hated it was, well, Otis got literally a couple of moves on Sami Zayn done, right? And they weren't like big moves. They were just, normal few punches and stuff. And Sami Zayn was on the mat for a minute. Your Intercontinental Champion was on the mat for a minute down. Well, Otis and Chad Gable had an argument about a caterpillar move, and the caterpillar move ended up hitting. So Sami Zayn was basically knocked out for a minute, and we just saw this guy go, 20 minutes with Gunther at WrestleMania and take all that offense and come out on top. I mean, I thought this was so lazy. Whoever produced this match, it was so lazy. I mean, it literally was just like you told Sami, just lay there for a minute. In fact, that's what they did do. And then he took the match anyway. Sami Zayn ended up winning. Chad Gable was fuming. I mean, listen, they're advancing a story here. It's not like there's no story. There was at least story in this segment. But it was just done so lazy. It really, really was. It was like they just put no thought into it. They were like, let's just do this and get it over and done with. It was filler. It was next to pointless. They could have put more thought into it. Thumbs down from me, unfortunately, and it's disappointing because the show got off to such a good start, and I'm such a fan of this storyline, but both these Alpha Academy segments, well, I'm using the word lazy a lot, but hey, maybe I'm being lazy, but these segments were also lazy. Up next, what in the AEW? Because Becky Lynch, the women's champion, was in an absolutely random match against Dakota Kai. I mean, I literally have no idea why this happened. I will give it some points because the match itself was actually a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. But the DQ finish kind of hinted towards a Damage Control versus Becky Lynch feud, when we know the imminent direction is Becky Lynch versus Liv Morgan. Yes, I know about long-term storytelling, but this just felt messy. At least, the segment ended with Lyra and Io face-to-face, the Raw final for the Queen of the Ring next week. But even still, I mean, this segment, it was decent. It was fine because it was a good match, and hey, I guess it advanced the story, but it also kind of told no story going into it. I mean, I don't really understand what the point of this was. I feel like a promo segment, which was just really needed at this point in the show, could have done the job and could have done it better. It wasn't bad, it wasn't, but it was another match which tired out the crowd even more. And it really, really was filler. That's just genuinely what it was. Now, I always say that I'm not a fan of tag matches when there's more than 6 people in the ring. And unfortunately, up next, we had a fatal 4-way tag team match. I mean, listen, jokes aside, this was fun. It was fine. It was decent. It wasn't anything special by any means, but the Judgment Day got the win with help from Carlito. Usually, I'd be complaining about the fact that New Catch Redacted, I'm not even calling them by their real name, were in the match, but hey, I'll let it slide because, one of the reasons I hate them is that they're Tottenham supporters. But unfortunately, as an Arsenal fan, tonight, for the first and probably only time in my life, I'm going to have to support Tottenham and hope they beat Man City so that Arsenal have an opportunity to win the league. Please do us a favour, guys. Please do us a favour. But hey, this isn't talking about football. This is a wrestling show. Carlito helped the Judgment Day get the victory, and we're getting the Judgment Day versus Miz and Truth for the World Tag Team Championships in the near future. This was decent. Then, time for the main event, and I better have my yeets ready. Yeet, 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 yeet. No, we're not doing that all over again, don't worry. But we had Jey Uso versus Ilya Dragunov, and honestly, guys, we expected this match to deliver, and it did. The crowd was a bit dead for it. They were managing to get their yeets out, but that was just about it. They gave no cares in the world for Dragunov, and it was really unfortunate. And ultimately, neither did WWE because Jey Uso got the victory and broke my heart. I wanted to see Gunther versus Dragunov so badly. But listen, ultimately, Jey Uso winning was probably the right decision. Jey Uso is so over right now, and he's just come off a big loss to Damian Priest. If you want to keep him strong, you've got to give him wins. And Dragunov's going to bounce back from this. He'll be fine. I would have liked him to go on a bit of an undefeated streak, but he'll be fine. He'll bounce back. I mean, hey, I would have liked this match to get a few more minutes just so, Dragunov could get a bit more, I guess, have a few more kick-outs just to make himself look stronger in defeat. But it was fine. Jey Uso, Gunther next week. I cannot wait for it. We also had the little bit of a stare down between Gunther and Dragunov. They're teasing that for the future, and I'm excited for it. But, I mean, I think people are being a bit harsh on WWE here. Did they book themselves into a bit of a corner? Yes. But Jey Uso winning, ultimately, I have no issue with. And this match, well, it deserves a subtle round of applause. A great main event to end a solid episode of Monday Night Raw. Now, at the start of this show, I used an analogy of a cake, basically. A cake with a lovely sponge, but a disgusting filling. And maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration, right? The middle of the show wasn't awful. It was just very much filler and a lot of lazy booking involved. But because of that, this is a really difficult show to rate, if I'm being honest. Because the opening hour was fantastic. The main event was great. But the middle, well, it just lacked, didn't it? So overall, I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I mean, ultimately, the middle really needed, maybe one less match, maybe even two less matches and a promo segment or something just to liven up the crowd a bit because there were too many matches on this show. And that's why by the time it got to the main event, well, the crowd was a bit dead, wasn't it? And that's going to happen in wrestling. It's going to happen with WWE crowds a lot of the time too, especially WWE crowds. This is sports entertainment, right? And yes, WWE are using more sports-centric elements, which I'm loving, but they need to remember, they are the sports entertainment product. And if they're just going to put on matches for 3 hours straight, the crowd's going to die, and that's the sad reality for it, right? You can put on brilliant matches like they did towards the end of the show and at the beginning of the show, but in the middle, you need a couple of segments or just something, because the filler matches they had, well, they just did the crowd no favors. They advanced storylines to a degree, but it wasn't worth, tiring the crowd, and it also just wasn't worth the lazy booking for the matches that they had. Sami Zayn being down for a minute over just a couple of small moves, it was ridiculous, to be honest. They were lucky they didn't get a harsher rating from me on that one. But overall, it was a fun show, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Allison Analysis. If so, as always, leave any feedback in the comments, and please like and subscribe. We're trying to get 1,000 subscribers here at Wrestling Republic on YouTube. We're growing. We're on the train to 10 billion subscribers. How about that? But we will see you guys in the next one. I'll see you on Wednesday. Well, I'll see you on Thursday for the Dynamite review. And of course, make sure you watch WR Daily every day at 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, and 12 p.m. Pacific I will see you guys then. Peace.